Hello, welcome again. So today we are going to cover about project performance. In the project performance, we are going to analyze actually how to see how better the project is performing and how exactly we have to do some improvements in the project performance. So here we apply a technique which is called earned value principles. Earned value is one of the very famous and very elaborative way of analyzing the project and making sure this is functioning fine. At the same time, it is one of the difficult approach that we could do, especially in the modern world where we are managing the project by Agile. So I'm going to touch upon both these principles and also trying to understand you the differences. But before we go there, let me explain what is the earned value principle means. The earned value principle, we look into the project performance in the baseline of what we planned and how exactly we are making progress versus the plan. So there are a couple of definitions here. The first definition is about the plan value. Plan value means that according to our schedule, what exactly we are planning to do, and not from a work perspective, we convert that work into a dollar amount. Actual cost is again another terminology like that. Somebody is doing some work, but actually what is being paid. Earned value means that what is being earned. So it's easy to define these terms in this way, but I think an example will probably help you to understand the differences. So my famous terminology is about the tree planting. Okay, so let's say we are planting one tree per day. So if you look into 5 days, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 days. Our objective is to plant a tree per day. And planting one tree, let's say, is going to take $100. Normally, how do we measure the project performance? We have to ask the people how much work they have done. So in this case also, at the end of day 1, I asked the person who is in charge how many trees that you planted. And his answer that I planted one tree. So first question, what is plan value? Plan value is that what is the work that person is supposed to do at the end of the day. That is one tree, that is equal to $100. So that is PV in that case is $100. Now come to actual cost. How much money I paid hearing what he done. He said he planted one tree and also I paid him $100. And then I asked him based upon his status, he said that he planted one tree successfully. So that work performed is planting one tree is $100. So let me do a pause there. Hopefully all of you understand what I planned, what he performed, and what I paid. Everything is exactly equivalent to $100. So without knowing any of these formulas, we can understand we are following according to the plan. That is what variance is 0. So if you look into the cost variance here, EV minus AC is also 0. EV minus PV and schedule variance is 0. That we are saying I am really according to the schedule. There is 0 variance in schedule. There is 0 variance in cost because everything is following according to the plan. Now let's take a look at about something happened on the second day. So on the second day, I asked him at the end of the day, how many trees that you plant? He said, today I could not plant any tree because there is some problem happened for my equipment. I have to stop working. I couldn't do any work. So it's an accumulation. Just hear the word accumulation, because earned value is always an accumulated results of the work performed. At the end of the day, in total, this person planted only one tree. First day he planted 1, 0 tree on the second day, so in accumulation is 1. So plant value is that at the end of the day, how many tree is supposed to plant? 2. So the dollar equivalent is 200. So day 2, in day 2, PV is supposed to be 200. And actual cost, hold on, before I go to actual cost, what is EV? EV according to his performance, in total he planted only one tree, so it's only 100. He planted this PV is 200 and earned this 100. That means something bad happened. He'll find out what bad happened. Actual cost, how much I paid. I didn't pay anything because he didn't plant anything on the second day. So AC is still 100. So now let's take a look at the cost variance, earned value minus planned value, which is minus 100. Earned value is 100 minus 200 is the schedule variance. So I am behind the schedule. Cost variance is earned value is 100, actual cost is 100, so it's 0. So I do not have any cost variance, I do have a schedule variance. So in summary, that means my project is actually behind the schedule. I have a schedule impact, but I do not have a budgetary impact. So this principle can be applied to any complicated project, including sending a man to moon or a Mars project. All this bigger multi-million, billion-dollar business, they have to go through this calculation. So you may be thinking, how exactly I do calculation to all those tasks in a project. Once you understand this principle is embedded in the tool like Microsoft Project Tool or very sophisticated project management tool. They go line by line the task, what the task is supposed to be scheduled, what is supposed to be performed versus what is performed versus how much money we paid. This all look into the 3-dimension perspective and sum up together, and we can find out whether the project is on schedule, behind the schedule, ahead of schedule, or I am on budget, or I'm above budget or below budget. So this kind of notations will further analyzed and find out from a variance point of view by applying the cost variance. By applying the cost variance, we can find out if it is producing a negative results. We can find out whether it's an over budget or if it is doing a positive results where we earned more work than what we planned. We can say is under budget. For the schedule variance in the case, what we actually performed versus what we planned. If we are performing more, that means we have a positive result, that means we are ahead of schedule, or if we are actually performing or if we are performing less, then it says we are behind schedules. This techniques I'm not going to explain much. This is also a fractional form of explaining whether the project is performing according to the schedule or not according to the schedule. There's a racial proportional way of expressing it, and the key question is that why I need, even though I have a variance, why I need an index. So the reason being, if somebody say I am behind the project, let's say $1,000, or my budget is like 2K minus 2K, the cost variance. The cost variance is 2K, schedule variance is $100. It is very difficult to find out whether it really matters, because the project overall cost we have to know. Whether we are talking 2K for a project which is 1 billion cost or 200 million cost versus 4 K, cost. It really matters. To understand the magnitude of the variance, to understand the magnitude of impactness, we analyze that variance in the perspective of ratio. And that's the reason we have cost performance index, CPI, or schedule performance index has been utilized. Now, to get a little more perspective about the concept in a task level and how exactly this will work in an overall project. So if you look at the graph, this is an easy way to understand, but a little bit conceptual understanding is also needed. The status date is basically today's date. Anything left off here is past, and anything right of it's basically future. If you understand that concept, if you look into the task A, everything is notated here by Gantt chart or a line. We have three tasks here, A, B, C. A is on the left side of the status. That means it is supposed to be completed. So to me again, it's supposed to be completed on the past date. And so we clearly know, even though the data is not clearly stated in English form, by graphical representation we can say A is scheduled to be done earlier than today. The boldness will say what is actually the work performance now. So if I take the task A, task is on the left side, it is supposed to be completed by now, and it is bolded 100%. That means the work is also performed 100%. While in case of B, B is the left side of today's date, so it's supposed to be scheduled or it's supposed to be done by now, we know that, but it is only bolded 50%. That means the actual performance of that work is only 50%. The different scenario for task C. Task C is actually crossing today's date. That means it is not a past task, it's not a future task, it's an in-progress task. Where we stand now? Actually, the boldness shows 75%. That means we are actually churning a little bit ahead. That means we are overperforming in case of C. That is why it's 75%. Since the line is cutting almost at the center, we can assume it's supposed to be done. C is supposed to be done only 50%, around 50%, but in reality it is already 75%. So it's ahead of schedule. And that is the context, and that is the graphical representation. And how exactly the tool will calculate all those three different tasks to make sure what is the overall number for the project. So to do that, we take the task A, take the line number 1 here, the budget given is 1000, actual cost is also data given. Somebody has to tell you how much you paid. Okay, $1,000 I have given, percentage schedule. How I know this? Just looking into the graph, I will know it's on the left side, so 100%. Now you multiply A into C to get the plan value, the total budget into what percentage is supposed to do, that is $1,000. Percentage complete, again the data given by boldness. So the bold line shows that A is 100%. Then the earned value is the budget multiplied by actual percentage completed, $1,000. Similarly, let's take a look at C. Skip the B, we can just follow. Budget is 1000, actual is data given, and then we will look into the percentage schedule. C is around the middle, the cuttings of 50%, so that is $500. 75% is the boldness showing, so it is again 750. So now when you add all those things together, all the corresponding columns, add this together, we will get the actual cost, we get the performed value and earned value for the project. So we have all those numbers handy, and with that number we should be able to find out whether the overall project is behind the schedule or our budget. We still apply the formula here which we mentioned in this exercise. What is cost variance, schedule variance, and performance indexes. But first thing you have to understand from these two slides is that how each and every task will contribute to the overall project performance. So by this mechanism, what we have done is that this is one way of analyzing mathematically how the project performance is happening and how we should be able to tell where the project will end up when we continue this kind of progression. So now let's take an analysis about the actual cost. There are two main costs that we can predict from the project performance. One is estimated cost at completion, and what is the estimated cost that we need for completion. There are a couple of definitions is done here. Again, the best way of understanding this concept is about looking into the different costs. Let's say you are somewhere here in today's date. You are at today's day point. Let's say you have spent $X so far from begin to today's date. You have spent $X according to your books, and you can definitely find out from the earned value, just like adding up all the costs from the planned value and also from the actual cost. You can find out all those details and find out what is the performance of the project in case of variance as well as indexes in the today's date. That you can easily find out. Now, how exactly this is helping us to find out what could be the cost at the end? That is the question. So to find out the estimated cost at the completion, there are three different thought processes that we can arrive. One is like just looking at the actual to date. Looking at the actual to date, you will find out you have spent $X amount, that is $X. And what is unknown for us is the remaining part. So let's say I am performing really great. So far up to today's date, I can anticipate the same level of good performance or bad performance, and you can extrapolate that number. So that will give a $Y, and then when you add up together, that is the total cost at the completion of the project. It's one thought process. That is nothing other than that, looking into the past performance, we can make some assumptions. We are going to do the same level of performance, good or bad. That's 50% bad or 25% better. You can find out the total cost. That is one thing. Second approach is that looking into the actual cost that we spent, we can also re-estimate for all the work, re-estimate all the work remaining. For example, let's say the project is performing really bad and we found out this is happening because of the incorrect estimate. Or we can say the project is performing really good. I am supposed to spend only $800, but I really did a great job by spending $600. That is a better performance. And the reason being, probably I had a bad estimate or I had a bad cost estimation from vendor, whatever the reason is. So you look into the remaining part of the work and you let the team re-estimate to get more accurate numbers than assuming I will have a similar performance for the remaining of the project life cycle. That can also give a different way of estimating what should be the total dollar number. The third portion is that actual to date. Again, we know what we spent, and what we look into the remaining part of the work and assume that, well, the remaining part of the work, I do not want to estimate anything. I know the nature of the work. There is no way this is going to change different than originally estimated. So we stick to the same old number and come up with an estimate. So to get a perspective, let's say this is a $1,000 project. This is a $1,000 project. Originally we estimated. We are, let's say, around 75% into today's date, and we found out that, let's say, I spent already $900. Let's assume a simple math here, so we can see, okay, I'm 75% in the project and $900 spent. So what I could do, the remaining 25% by the technique one, what I'm doing is that I overspent 75%, so there is potentially I'm going to overspend in the rest of the 25% and I can come up with a number. That is one approach. Second approach is basically I look into the 25% of the work here and let the team re-estimate so they can come back with say 900 plus re-estimation version is like that 230. I'm just giving some random number here. So if it is a 230 is the newer estimate, that will give like $1,130. If my math is correct. Then the third option is about we have $900, but this $900 and remaining one is not going to change, and we look into the task and find out the exact dollar amount for that task is $110. Then we'll say, okay, this is going to take only $1,010. So these are the three different approaches. So EAC is basically predicting where the project will end up at the end of the project execution. Or if we ask somebody, okay, I am at $900 spent, but I need this much amount of money to complete the project, that is called ETC. In other words, this principle, what we learned is about earned value principle, is about how the project performance can be analyzed more in a mathematical fashion at the very task level, and going through some computation exercise we can always predict what could be the outcome of the project, how project is going to perform going forward, and also we can predict how much money we need to complete the project, as well as what could be the total expenditure once you complete the project to the senior leadership. So this is a good model that I think is very proven, and especially if it's a waterfall planned approach, is definitely going to work. Now let's take a look at about the couple of project closure procedures and auditing. I'm moving away from the project performance, and there are two main mechanisms that need to be aware regarding the controlling. One is called auditing. Sometimes the auditing is needed just to make sure the project is going on the track and there is no flyaways, there is no loose ends, and we can make sure the project can be tightened up and the project can be finished up at the end very cool. Another one is about project is done after several years after somebody do some investigation and need to dig that further, as I seen in this image, under the carpet, what are the hidden things, and also find out how exactly the project performed and what are the improvement areas. Sometimes project is also being audited with a right mindset, positive mindset. For example, a project is done very excellent, they have to find the same vendor, they engage the same vendor, they may have to engage probably the same team to make sure they can undertake a new project. So auditing will help us to see what are the lessons learned, what are the best positive guidelines they followed, what are the best practices that they followed, so they can implement in a new project which they are initiating. So the last point we have to discuss here is about the project closure. Project closure is an interesting phase for any project. A lot of projects, if they are letting it go and without having a formal closure, that can create a lot of problems and organizational confusions and ineffectiveness. So what are the steps that we have to do for closure? First is the customer acceptance. So the customer is accepting the product. Releasing the resources is important because you do not want to keep them under your belt and keep them building. Once the work is done, let them go. This also includes not only the manpower, it can also include all the equipments that we are using. The other one is about the archiving. All the lessons learned, all the documents should be archived so it can be used for future references. with any claims, if any financial pending payments, you want to make sure that you have clean books. Before that, last but not least, you're also evaluating all the project team so that not only they are self-motivated to engage in future projects, but also give some tips and feedback to the future project managers or their functional managers during their performance review, as well as then they are modeling a new team or hiring a new team to execute a new project. So hope you also enjoyed this session, and this is actually the end of the series of videos I'm planning to share, starting with the introduction of project management all throughout. Before I do that, let me summarize what we cover in this particular video. In this particular video, we actually analyzed a little more in a deeper, a little more structured, a little more mathematical way how exactly I can find out my project is in a good shape or bad shape. And that will help me to put some numbers, that will help me to put some facts to the performance team and senior leaders so they know exactly I'm doing good or bad or where I need help and support. We also went through some of the examples with the tree planting and also simple examples to validate how that concept can be clearly understood. Hopefully you enjoyed that example. We also went through a task-oriented graphical form, task by task, and how individual task is contributing to the overall performance numbers of the project. And again, that is a simple way of explaining with 3 tasks that can be applied to bigger project of thousands of tasks. Especially the tool can do that for you. You don't need to do the number crunching. Last one, we also talk about why we are doing the project audit, what are the pluses and minuses and process involved in that. And we wrap up this session with the project closure, and which is one of the very important step that we have to go through. You have to make sure we are officially closing the project and releasing all the resources. Once again, you hope you enjoyed this session and series of videos. If you like it, please like and share it. I just want to make sure all of you are understanding the project management the way it is, and we can strictly follow some principles and foundational guidelines in project management profession. I am the one who is really enjoyed the project management profession. I'm also teaching project management to undergrads and graduate students. Really passionate about it, and I believe we can produce better results if you really understand the basic guidelines, and if you apply those basic guidelines in project management. Again, welcome to the project management career. Hope you will enjoy it and you will proceed and be passionate about it and winning and making so many projects successful in future. Thank you.